Hello everyone, and welcome to another Monster Hunter World video. Today we're going to be talking about all of the armor sets in the game. I'm hoping to transfer a lot of my knowledge about the game over to you guys in a relatively short amount of time. So I've had a lot of people ask about the armor sets, and I can tell there's a lot of confusion about it. And I know when I got into the game, this is my first Monster Hunter game, I know when I got into it, I was really confused about what I'm supposed to be trying to get done with the armor sets. So this video is going to kind of help players who are just getting into the game understand the armor, but it's even going to get advanced as we get into the high rank armor. We're going to get real advanced about the armor sets so that you can kind of understand the armor sets in more, I'm going to say, like an abstract way. So you can take a look at the new armor sets as they come out and really be your own master and kind of know exactly what's going on and know what armor sets you're supposed to be picking out, right? So with armor, let's go ahead and start with the low rank. With armor, you've got a few things that you look at: defense, elemental resistance, the skills, as well as armor set bonuses. And I'll talk a little bit about armor set bonuses when we run into the first one, right? So the skills are really important in Monster Hunter World, more important than the defense, I would say, because the skills are usually more responsible for changing how powerful you are in the game than the defense. Like, the defense does matter, especially the elemental defense, I want to say, does matter, but the skills will really change your character more than anything else, and that's really what we pay the most attention to. So when it comes to the low rank armor, I want to say this: the vast majority of low rank armor is just terrible. Just buy whatever low rank armor has the most defense and the appropriate elemental resistance that you need for fighting whatever monster you're stuck on. If you're worried about building for dragon resistance, you really don't need to, okay? So don't worry about building dragon resistance. Probably the most prevalent elemental resistance you need to think about is probably the fire resistance. It's a pretty good one. And then if you're stuck on low rank Kirin, maybe like thunder. So that's pretty much all you need to think about in terms of defense for the low rank armor. Just build whatever the latest low rank armor is and focus on the elemental resistance type for whichever monster you're stuck on. Now, in terms of skills, the vast majority of the low rank armor have terrible skills. They don't really have enough for you to really care about it, in my opinion. There's just a few things that stand out. The Bone Coil piece of armor set will give you the Horn Maestro skill. I don't know how many people are starting the game out with the Hunting Horn. You really should, because it's a terrific weapon. But if you do, this Horn Maestro skill is incredibly valuable, okay? So this is a good skill for hunting horns, and you don't want to miss that. There's another piece of armor called the Gyros Mask, which will also give it to you for the low rank armor. So that's another one you should probably consider. This Kestodon skill called Affinity Sliding is pretty good for hammers. Hammers and maybe bows. Let me think. Do any other? I think the dual blades as well. The dual blades will slide easily, because basically when you're going downhill, your character will go into an animation called sliding, and affinity sliding gives you a big boost to affinity, a 30% boost to affinity when you do that. So since most of these armor sets don't let you carry like 3 levels of weakness exploit, 3 levels of maximum might, 7 levels of critical eye, affinity sliding is actually pretty decent in low rank. So the Kestodon guards are pretty good for affinity sliding. Alright, and then the next piece of low rank armor I want to mention is this one that has the Pro Transporter skill. So the Pro Transporter skill, a lot of people overlooked this when the game comes out. Basically, you're going to run into these optional quests that are so annoying that you'll pull your hair out. You have to pick up like a piece of meat or an egg, and you have to carry it all the way back to camp, right? And that could, especially on the ancient forest, there's a few of those. I think there's 2 of them, right? They're really frustrating, and this makes it so much easier. When you take the Pro Transporter skill with you, you're going to be able to move much faster while carrying the egg or carrying the chunk of meat. So this is a really terrific skill. It doesn't really matter, like even in the late game when you have that quest, if you haven't finished it, this is still a terrific skill, and you can build it really easily with these Kulve Vambraces. So don't overlook this piece of armor either. After taking a look at that, I wanted to jump over to the High Metal Coil. You'll notice that it comes with the Capacity Boost skill. This is a terrific skill for people who are trying to play with the gun lance, because it gives you an extra shot of your shelling, okay? So Capacity Boost is a real popular skill. It continues to be a popular skill in the late game. So if you're using gun lance, you probably want to build the High Metal Coil. Next, I want to give you guys a little tip for fighting Anjanath. I remember when the game came out, Anjanath was a wall for a lot of people, meaning that a lot of people got stuck at Anjanath. And when we're looking at the armor, this is This is a principle that's going to continue to apply into the late game, right into the end game. Basically, I'm showing you the Barrett armor set, and you'll notice each piece of the Barrett armor set comes with -3 resistance to fire. So this would be a terrible armor set to use against Anjanath, because not only does Anjanath deal decent physical damage, he deals really high fire damage, right? And there's a few monsters in the game that deal a lot of fire damage. I don't know in the low rank. I'm trying to think if there's many in the low rank. I think it's mostly just Anjanath and then Rathalos, right? But what you'll see is if you put this whole armor set, you'd get the -3 fire times 5, or -15 fire resistance. So you really don't want the Barrett armor set for fighting Anjanath. But you'll notice also it has +3 against Thunder. So maybe you can use the Barrett armor set against something like Tobi Kadashi, okay? So it's really important to pay attention to those elemental resistances, and they can really explain, why you're struggling against one monster but doing well against another, right? So really notice that. Okay, so we've talked about kind of like the principal elements. Now I want to talk about one of the best low rank armor sets that I think is available. One of the downsides to it is you really don't get to build it till you've unlocked fighting Rathalos. But basically, if you can build the Rathalos helmet, Rathalos mail, and Rathalos fan braces, that's going to be a real nice set for you, because you're going to have high resistance to fire. It's going to give you 9 resistance to fire if you build all 3 pieces. It also has pretty good defense. And then you get the armor bonus set called Critical Element. That says it increases elemental damage when landing critical hits. So the way it works in this game, you have this attribute called Affinity, and Affinity is your odds of landing a critical hit. If you're using a bow and it's got like 20% positive affinity, you're going to have a 20% chance to get a critical hit on the monster. And basically, when you get those critical hits are going to deal additional damage as long as you've got an element and this crit element armor skill. Okay, so this is a pretty decent set right here. Also, we have the Diablo set. Now, the Diablo set doesn't really have any skills that I'm really excited for, but what's nice about it is it has pretty high defense compared to the rest of the low rank armor, and it comes with 3 points of fire resistance for every piece of armor. So if you're having trouble fighting like Rathalos and fighting Anjanath, you can build the Diablo set and don't really worry about the skills, just build it for that fire resistance and the decent defense. Alright, and now I'm done with the low rank armor. Let's go ahead and jump to the high rank armor. Once you've unlocked the high rank armor, you're also going to be unlocking a new thing called decorations. When you kill a monster, you'll be rewarded with decorations, and these basically give you skills that you can place into the armor set that you want to. However, the armor set must be able to hold that decoration. So we have this new way that we evaluate armor, where we count how many skills it gives you and how many skills it can hold. Okay? So that's really important now. And we're going to go ahead and run through the high rank armor. I'm going to point out the ones that I think kind of stand out more than the other ones. So basically, similar to the low rank armor, all of the early sets in high rank, none of them are really useful for anything. We have to jump down a lot further in order to get into the good ones. Probably one of the only early high rank armors worth mentioning is the Mosswine Mask, which gives you 2 level of Mushroom Mancer. So I know you can build the Mushroom Mancer Charm, that'll give you the last rank, and you can use this to give your team a bunch of mushroom buffs. I've never even looked into that. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but yes, an interesting mask. You'll also notice that the Kulu armor is back with Pro Transporter, so you can build the high rank version of it if you want to. It's not really a big deal in my opinion. Alright, so one of the first sets of the high rank armor that's going to start to get interesting is the Odogaron Coil Beta. You'll notice it gives you 2 levels of artillery, and artillery is a really good skill for a variety of attacks. One of the ways that I use it for explosive ammo on the heavy bowguns and the light bowguns. This is a very valuable skill. It's also a pretty rare decoration, so it's hard to unlock all the levels of artillery. So when you first get into high rank, if you're using something that artillery can affect, and notice it says it strengthens the explosive attacks like gun lance shells, wyvern's fire, charge blade file attacks, and sticky ammo, right? If you're using something that's affected by artillery, the Odogaron Coil Beta is a good option. Later on, though, you're going to want to build the artillery charm. Another thing that's interesting about the Odogaron armor set is that you can build a capacity boost skill on the legs. So for people who are just getting into the high rank, the Odogaron Coil and the Odogaron Greaves can be really useful depending on what weapon you're using. I also want to mention the Zora Magdaros armor set. I've played around with the armor skill called Critical Status. Basically, it's kind of similar to what the Rathalos armor set has, where you put on 3 pieces of the armor set and you get this thing. It says it increases abnormal status effect damage, right? Paralysis, poison, sleep, blast, when landing critical hits. I played around with it. It didn't feel very strong. For your information, if you're curious, it certainly didn't feel like it replaced the meta armor pieces that I would have normally worn, right? So maybe Capcom will include new ways to get the critical status onto your build that doesn't use the Zora Magdaros armor, because that's a big part of the problem here. The Zora Magdaros armor is actually not that good of a set. So we'll have to see what they do in the future. I really think that that's a lost opportunity if they don't eventually do that. Maybe they could release it also as a decoration like they do with the Mind's Eye or Ballistics, right? You also notice that the high metal armor set still has capacity boost on the coil. Okay, so you can build that again for the high rank, because until you unlock the decoration, you're going to want to get capacity boost on certain builds. Usually it's a gun lance build, right? Alright, and now we're moving on to a pretty important piece of armor. The Lavasioth Greaves are still really useful, especially for people who have not unlocked the very rare, it's rarity 8, which is as rare as it can be, the rarity 8 spread/power shot skill, right? This decorations are very hard to obtain, so you can just build the Lavasioth Greaves and be able to reliably get it onto your build, and it's okay in terms of efficiency. You're getting a level 3 skill and a level 2 decoration slot. That's not bad for legs, right? So this is really important, especially people with bows or bow guns use this skill. Next, I'm going to show you the Odogaron Coil Beta. So when it comes to coils, or you can call them waist pieces or whatever you want to call them, this kind of shows you the efficiency that you can expect for the coils, right? There's the new Vaal Hazak Gamma waist piece, which has become one of the most efficient waist pieces in the game. But even before that, the Odogaron Coil and the Nergigante Coil, these were 2 of the most efficient coils that you could take, because they had skills you wanted and, a level 2 decoration slot, basically. So Critical Eye is a popular skill because it raises your affinity, and that's all it does. You can take it up to level 7 and boost your affinity by quite a bit. As I mentioned before, much earlier in the video, affinity is important because as you build your affinity up, you're going to start dealing more critical hits to the monster, right? And then the other skill you tend to pair with Critical Eye is Critical Boost. Critical Boost is going to be when you land a critical shot on the monster, you're going to actually deal extra critical damage because of Critical Boost. So Critical Eye is a pretty popular one, and that's why the Odogaron Coil Beta is worth building. And now we move on to 2 important armor sets, the Rathalos armor sets. You'll notice there's actually Rathalos Alpha Beta and Rathalos Soul Alpha and Beta, right? So this is going to be for that variant of the monster. He's blue and he flies more, and you run into him more often in the Elder's Recess, right? So both of these armor sets are pretty good, and you'll notice that once again, it has the critical element armor skill, and a lot of elemental builds really depend on wearing 2 pieces of this armor set, so we're really going to break it down real fast. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Rathalos armor set. You'll notice the helmet comes with 2 levels of attack boost and an empty small decoration slot. On the alpha version, that'll give you 1 level of fire attack. That's very specific. I know at least that wearing this helmet will allow you to build 3 levels of attack boost, which normally you're not interested in doing that, but there isn't really any other helmet that'll allow you to build 3 levels of attack boost. Then we come on to a pretty valuable piece of armor. This is the Rathalos Mail Beta. Gives you 2 levels of Weakness Exploit. So if I haven't mentioned this already, Weakness Exploit is one of the best skills in Monster Hunter World, okay? So this piece of armor in particular is going to be real popular and is definitely worth building. After that, you'll notice that the Vambraces give you 2 levels of fire resistance, and if you take the Vambraces Alpha, you'll get 2 levels of fire resistance and 1 attack boost. Now, what I recommend doing is just build the beta version and use that extra empty decoration slot to build 1 more level of fire resistance. This will allow you to have a ton of fire resistance, which is really useful against a whole bunch of monsters. After that, we have the Rathalos Coil Beta, which comes with 2 levels of fire attack. That means if you're trying to build the critical element skill on a weapon that deals fire damage, you can actually go with the coil piece and still have a pretty efficient build. So you can go Rathalos Mail Beta and Rathalos Coil Beta and have a pretty efficient set, and that opens up the helmet slot for something more efficient than the current options. Finally, for the legs, we have Jump Master, and the alpha version will give you Jump Master and Weakness Exploit. I rarely use this. I don't think I ever use it, in fact. You've just got better options. So the next thing I need to mention is that the Rath Soul set can be combined with the regular Rathalos set to unlock that critical element armor skill, okay? So you can mix and match them, it doesn't matter, you'll still unlock the armor skill as long as you have two, one of each of these will work, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at the Rath Soul set so we can decide if any of these pieces are good as well. So the Rath Soul Helm Beta is actually real popular. You get 1 level of critical boost. That's a pretty hard to obtain skill in the game, and although it's not going to be the most important thing for elemental builds, still better than nothing. You're probably going to be building affinity onto a crit element setup anyways, and elemental damage usually also has a little bit of, raw damage as well along with it. So crit boost is a pretty good skill here, and you get 2 small decoration slots. So when we're comparing this to the Rathalos beta set, a lot of the times you'll actually take this one over that one. It's just more efficient, especially if you have 2 attack boost decorations. You can put those in there anyways. I guess not everybody has that, but I feel like crit boost and 2 small decoration slots is perfect, because a lot of the time when you're building elemental damage, you only need 2 levels of it. So if you're building like, let's say water, right? You only need about 2 decoration slots. Technically, a lot of the weapons can hold like 3 decorations for water, but 2 is actually pretty good. You can actually stop at 2 and get most of the damage. The Rath Soul Mail Beta is the next really good armor piece in this set. You're going to get 1 level of free element, and then you're going to get 1 level 2 decoration slot. Now this isn't the most efficient setup for your chest piece on your armor set, but remember, you're really trying to build critical element, and there are cases where getting that extra level of free element is really useful. You can actually build a free element charm, but it'll only give you 2 levels of free element, so having this be the 3rd part of the free element is pretty useful. And then again, you get the crit element, right? So right off the bat, you can go Rath Soul Helm Beta, Rath Soul Mail Beta, and you're done. You've got critical element, and you might also have free element, right? So keep that in mind. You can also build focus with the Rath Soul Braces Beta. The Rath Soul Coil Alpha is pretty much the only way to get the Piercing Shot skill onto your build until you unlock the Piercing Shots decoration. This is a rarity 8 decoration, so you're probably going to be using the Rath Soul Coil Alpha for a while. And then finally, once again, the leggings are terrible on this armor set. So the Rathalos Greaves were bad, and the Rathalos Soul Greaves are pretty bad as well. I don't really recommend them for anything. Alright, so now we've gone over those 2 armor sets, which are actually pretty important in the game once again. Like if you're building for a bow, you're going to want to get really familiar with the Rathalos and the Rathalos Soul armor sets, because you're going to be using them a lot. Moving right along, we have to take a look at the Diablos armor set. So first of all, if you're trying to build critical draw, the helmet's actually very efficient. You get 2 levels of critical draw. Those are level 2 decorations, right? And then you get 1 more empty level 2 decorations. So in terms of efficiency, that's great. Now when we take a look at the Diablos Mail Beta, it's also really efficient because it allows you to build 2 levels of Slugger. Those are also rank 2 decorations, and then it has another empty rank 2 decoration slot. So both the Diablos Helm Beta and the Diablos Mail Beta are very efficient for building those particular skills, Critical Draw and Slugger. And then after that, we'll notice that the Diablos Fan Braces Beta does the same thing. You've got 2 levels of Heroics. Those are rank 2 decorations and an empty rank 2 decoration slot. So this is a pretty good armor set so far. The thing I would say is I wouldn't necessarily pair all of these together, but you could, I guess. I mean, if you're using a hammer, hammers, you can sheath them pretty quickly, so Critical Draw is okay on a hammer. I wouldn't really use Slugger on a hammer build though. Slugger is actually, the only time I use Slugger is with sticky ammo. With the hammer, you're better off just building pure damage, in my opinion, and there's a variety of ways to do that. But yeah, Slugger on sticky ammo is still pretty good for me. And then Heroics, I've never really used Heroics before. I've seen people use it in speedruns, but it's too extreme of a thing for me. I'm not really interested in keeping my health down just to deal a little more damage. But yeah, if you were interested in building Heroics, this would be a pretty efficient way to do it. Surprisingly efficient. And then after that, Once again, you'll see that with Marathon Runner, you get 2 levels of the skill and thus rank 2 decorations and then another rank 2 decoration slot, right? So the Diablos armor set has been pretty efficient, and finally you can get 2 levels of Tremor Resist and 2 small decoration slots. That's also pretty efficient. So all around, the Diablos beta set is pretty good, but it's all kind of niche, right? Like, there aren't a lot of builds that use Critical Draw, there aren't a lot of builds that use Slugger, there aren't a lot of builds that use Heroics or Marathon Runner. For Tremor Resist, if you're fighting like Deviljho, that actually might come in handy for a more like common build, if you want to call it that. Then when we take a look at the Diablos Nero set, this is from Black Diablos, you're going to see kind of a similar pattern. A lot of this armor set's pretty decent. So Focus, you can get 2 levels of Focus and a small decoration slot. That's not perfect, but it's actually pretty good. Here's something I wanted to teach you guys actually. Take a look at the Diablos Nero Helm Alpha, and then compare it to the Diablos Nero Helm Beta. Notice that there's this really interesting thing going on where the alpha set is actually more efficient than the beta set when you're trying to build focus. You get 2 levels of focus on the alpha set and 1 level of focus on the beta set, right? Here's the important differentiation between them. On the alpha set, you also get a small decoration slot, whereas on the beta, the only thing you get is a large decoration slot level 3, right? Well, if you were to put another level of focus into that, you would still be missing the small decoration slot that you get from the alpha set. Now, we see this happen, this little discrepancy. We see this on a lot of armor sets, so you have to be real careful to actually compare the beta and the alpha versions of armor sets, because you don't want to miss out on that extra free decoration, you know what I'm saying? So if you really were trying to build focus, you wouldn't want Diablos Nero Helm Beta. Even if you had all the focus decorations that you would ever need, you would still want the alpha set for that extra small decoration. And then next, the Diablos Nero Mail Alpha will give you 2 levels of Resentment and a small decoration slot. Once again, not the most efficient piece of armor, but actually pretty good. It's better than if you had gotten just 2 levels of Resentment, for example, and you can see that the beta set pretty much copies it. If you had a Resentment decoration already, or if you wanted to put something else there, so it's a decently efficient piece of armor, and the alpha version, I feel, is especially good if you're trying to build Resentment onto your setup, but you don't have enough Resentment decorations. So that's a piece of armor set that I've actually used a number of times. Similar, the Diablos Nero Braces Beta is pretty good for building that last level of focus, and then you still get a level 2 decoration slot and a level 1 decoration slot. After that, you can see you can build the Diablos Nero Coil Beta for 1 level of Resentment and a level 2 decoration slot. I don't think that's very efficient. Okay, so the only thing that I could say about this is it's useful if you're trying to build up Resentment and you're trying to get the Diablos armor set skills. You can see it's got Bludgeoner down there and non-elemental boost. Bludgeoner, if you're curious about it, is not very good. Basically what happens is, as your weapon loses sharpness, it doesn't lose as much of the damage multiplier as it normally would, but it still loses. Like, the damage multiplier actually does get smaller, so I don't use Bludgeoner for anything. And then the non-elemental boost is pretty legit if you're trying to get Elementalist onto your build, but you would be building kind of a niche Diablos armor set build, probably with the Resentment and maybe the focus. You can actually get a pretty fun build going on with the Griffin Blazuka. You know what? I'll leave a link to that in the comment section and the description. It's my original Griffin Blazuka build. It's a lot of fun with the Diablo setup, and it'll explain that whole thing to you. I don't want to do that here in this video. Finally, here's another important piece of armor in general. This is a very valuable piece. Similar to the Lavasioth Greaves, where you got the Spread Shots decoration, the Diablos Nero Greaves gives you the Normal Shots decoration. So if you need the Normal Shot skill, you can build Diablos Nero Greaves Beta, and you still get a level 2 decoration slot. So this is a really valuable piece of armor that I've used over and over and over again. Moving right along, now we're going to take a look at the Uragaan Armor Set. So the Uragaan Armor Set is interesting. If you needed the Guard Up skill, you can build 3 pieces of the Uragaan Set, and that will actually give you Guard Up. You can also build the Guard skill here, or I believe it's called like Iron Wall or something like that in terms of the decorations. The decorations have funny names, but like the leggings, for example, you'll see you can get the Uragaan Greaves Alpha, and it'll give you 2 levels of Guard and another small decoration slot. Now, Guard is a small decoration slot skill, but the thing is, it's an extremely rare skill or decoration to unlock. So if you really wanted Guard on your build, maybe consider the Uragaan Greaves Alpha, right? You also notice one really important thing for this armor set is the Part Breaker skill. The Part Breaker skill comes in handy when you're fighting the popular, well, I don't want to call her popular, but the important monster, Kulve Taroth. So the Kulve Taroth siege mode, there's a whole bunch of meta weapons that you can earn from fighting Kulve Taroth, so everyone should be interested in fighting her. And throughout the fight, really the big theme of fighting Kulve Taroth is breaking off parts of her body, and the Part Breaker skill on the Uragaan set is really going to help you out if you don't have those decorations unlocked. If you look, the Uragaan chest piece has 2 levels of Part Breaker and a small decoration slot. So similar to the Diablo's Nero Mail Alpha, which we were just looking at earlier, the Uragaan Mail Alpha is pretty efficient. It's not the most efficient, but 2 level 2 decoration slots and 1 small decoration slot. This is pretty good. It's pretty good. So you might build the Uragaan Mail Alpha, and you might build the Uragaan Coil Beta in order to get Part Breaker onto your setup. This is a Uragaan Coil Beta is pretty efficient. You get 1 level of Part Breaker, that's a level 2 decoration, and then you get 1 level 2 decoration slot, and then you get 1 level 1 decoration slot. So this is a pretty efficient piece of armor as well. Next, we're going to move on to talking about the Bazelgeuse armor set. So a lot of people like the Bazelgeuse armor set for building earplugs. I've watched a lot of different speedrunners. Nobody takes earplugs when they're speedrunning. And the reason for that is because, well, usually when you're speedrunning, you keep the monster juggled anyways. 2, you can actually dodge the monster's roar with the evasion mantle, and to a lesser degree you can dodge it without the evasion mantle. And 3, you can actually use the rocksteady mantle to ignore roars as well. And maybe 4, roars in general are not that, they're annoying, but they're like not that bad of a move in terms of the monster's moveset. But if you really must have earplugs, this is a good set to do it on. You've got the Bazelgeuse Helm Beta. It gives you 2 levels of earplugs. Earplugs, by the way, they're a level 3 decoration, so you need some really big decoration slots for it, right? So the Bazelgeuse Helm Beta, in terms of building earplugs, is one of the most efficient pieces of armor in the game for doing that. You're going to get 2 earplugs, then you're going to get a level 3 decoration slot, which can hold a 3rd earplugs, and a small decoration slot. Next, you'll notice, similar to the Diablo's Helm, you can get 2 levels of crit draw and a level 3 decoration slot. This is very efficient for building crit draw. Next, we have the Bazelgeuse Coil Beta. This gives you 2 more levels of earplugs and another level 3 decoration slot. So both this and the helmet are terrific if you want to pair them together, and this will mostly help you build earplugs. You'll just need 1 earplugs decoration to finish it off. The next armor set we're going to be taking a look at is the Damascus armor set. So this is another armor set that's really good for building fire resistance. I didn't mention this, but the Uragaan set's pretty good for fire resistance, and the the regular Diablo set is pretty good for fire resistance. But yeah, the Damascus set is also pretty good for building fire resistance, and it's pretty cheap. It doesn't really cost much to build it. So if you're dying to get some fire resistance and maybe you don't have the pieces for the other sets, this is a good set for doing that. And really just one piece of the set stands out more than others. It has the Damascus Mail Beta, which gives you 2 levels of focus. That's 2 level 2 decorations, and then it gives you 3 level 3 decoration slots. This is actually extremely efficient if you're really trying to get focus onto your build. So this is terrific for focus, and man, it even competes with one of the most recent armor sets to be released, the Lunastra armor set, which gives you 2 levels of peak performance and 3 small decoration slots. It's extremely efficient, but only if you're building focus, right? If you're not building focus, you don't really need it. Similarly, you might take a look at the Damascus Coil Beta. You can actually pair this with the chest piece and have a whole bunch of small decoration slots, and that's still useful because you can use those small decoration slots to build up something like Critical Eye if you have a bunch of expert decorations, or Attack Boost if you have a bunch of attack decorations. Next, we're going to take a look at the Dober Armor Set. Alright, so the Dober Armor Set, the chest piece used to be pretty standard for speedrunning. It would give you 2 levels of attack boost and a level 3 decoration slot. Since then, I don't think it's as popular. We've had a lot of new chest pieces come out that kind of replace it, right? This is a damaging chest piece because of the 2 attack boost decorations. But we've had stuff like the Kulve Taroth Armor Set come out, the Lunastra Armor Set come out, and so this one's really fallen out of favor in my opinion. One thing that is interesting at least is if you take the Dober Mail Alpha, which I think is overlooked, you can get 1 level of Mushroom Mancer, which means if you have Mushroom Mancer decorations or you built the Mushroom Mancer charm, you can actually finish off the charm that way, right? You can get because the charm will give you 2 levels of Mushroom Mancer, and this Dober Mail Alpha will give you 1 level of Mushroom Mancer, right? Then you've got 2 levels of attack boost that come with it and a small decoration slot. That's not bad. Next, we're going to take a look at the Death Stench armor set. So for the Death Stench armor set, really there's just a few things we're interested in. The first one is the Death Stench Grip Beta, which gives you 2 levels of focus and 2 small decoration slots. Notice that's not as good as the Damascus Mail set, which we just looked at, but it's pretty close, right? So if you really needed your chest piece, right, you couldn't give that up, but you could give up your vambraces, then this would be a good way to get focus onto your build. And finally, this is a piece of armor that is still used. It hasn't really been replaced. The Death Stench Heal Beta, which gives you 2 levels of handicraft and 2 small decoration slots. That's really good to be able to give to the leggings of your build, right? It happens to be really efficient. I don't know if it always will be, but it still is. Alright, now we're getting into the Elder Dragon armor sets. These armor sets are generally the best armor sets in the game, right? You see them all the time. In the earlier armor sets, you usually see them in niche setups, right? But this is really the good stuff that we're getting into. The Nergigante armor set, you'll notice I've built all of the beta and all of the alpha set. That's because the alpha set's still really useful for people who haven't really unlocked all of their attack decorations. And when we're talking about the Nergigante Greaves alpha, if you're trying to build both the maximum might and agitator, it's more efficient than if you had just used the beta Greaves, right? So maximum might beta is the same thing we were talking about earlier, where you get that free small decoration slot, but only if you were building both the maximum might and agitator. Oh, another thing I should mention is probably the set bonus skill. You'll see it's hasten recovery. You have to wear 3 pieces of the armor in order to get it. Basically, hasten recovery is similar to a health recovery augmentation. The way it works is you hit the monster, you deal damage to them, and at some point you're going to get a little boost to your health, right? You're going to get a little health recovery, and it's pretty nice. In fact, if you pair it with the health recovery augmentation, helps you heal even more, right? So it's actually a pretty good armor set skill if you can build it. So with the Nergigante armor set, the helmet is actually really good. You get 2 levels of maximum might on the beta, and then you get 2 small decoration slots. If you're building alpha, you get 2 levels of maximum might, an attack boost, right? That's one of your small decoration slots, and you still get your 1 small decoration slot. So once again, this is an easy way to build attack boost onto your setup, especially if you intended to use the Nergigante Helm either way, right? Next, you'll see the Nergigante Mail beta gives you 2 levels of stamina surge, a level 2 decoration slot, and a small decoration slot. So this armor piece is extremely efficient for building stamina surge. I think the only time you really want to think about using it is if you really want to use this on a bow setup. I'm not a bow expert. I don't think it's the most common piece for bows. I think that players, what they do is they actually drink consumables in order to kind of replace what this piece of armor would have done. But other than that, if you are trying to build stamina surge, this is a very efficient way to build it, and basically it just speeds up your stamina recovery. Next, we have the Nergigante Vambraces beta. This is a decent piece of armor. You'll notice it gives you 2 levels. The beta gives you 2 levels of agitator and a small decoration slot. So we've seen this setup before, where you get 2 level 2 decorations and 1 small decoration slot. Is decently efficient, especially if you're going for that hasten recovery setup, right? And then if you notice, the alpha version just gives you a free level of attack boost. Next, we have one of the most popular coils in the game, the Nergigante Coil Beta. This has been used for a very long time, and only just recently did we get a new coil from the Vaal Hazak Gamma setup, where you no longer need the Nergigante coil, but I think a lot of people who don't have the attack boost skill are still going to want this. So this is one of the best pieces of armor in the game still. To this day, you'll want to build this one. Basically, it gives you 2 levels of attack boost, and it gives you a level 2 decoration slot. And when it comes to the coils, that's actually pretty popular. It's pretty efficient. Next, we're going to move on to talking about the Teostra armor set. So the Teostra armor set has an interesting skill called Master's Touch. It says it prevents your weapon from losing sharpness during critical hits. What that means is weapons that have naturally high affinity, or setups where you can really build the affinity up to be about 100%, meaning all of your attacks are crits, you can then build the Teostra set, and basically what's going to happen is you're never going to have to resharpen your weapon. So you'll get like a white sharpness bar, as small of a white sharpness bar as you want, and you'll bring the Teostra armor set for the Master's Touch. You'll have 100% affinity, right? And you'll very rarely lose any of your sharpness, and that means no resharpening, right? So I know at least for the Taroth Crest Claw Lance that you use this setup. There's probably other situations where you use this setup, but I'm not aware of them. The problem with the armor set is it's mostly not an efficient armor set. The only efficient piece, I would say, is you have Kaiser Vambraces Alpha, which gives you 2 levels of weakness exploit and a small decoration slot. That's pretty good, right? Like if you're not going to build the Dragon Patch eyepiece, right, or whatever it's called, if you're not going to build that, this is actually pretty efficient. So you have have Kaiser Van Braces Alpha, which gives you 2 levels of weakness exploit and a small decoration slot, or Kaiser Van Braces Beta, where you get 1 level of weakness exploit and a level 3 decoration slot as well. But yeah, if you're going to build if you're going to build 3 pieces of the armor set in order to get the Master's Touch skill, a lot of the times what you're doing is you're trying to say, oh, what pieces of armor can I give up from what I'd like to wear in order to get this? Because, I don't know, latent power, I'm not a big fan of latent power. There's blast attack, that's very specific. I guess if you're building like a Lunastra weapon, this might be okay. The Kaiser Coil Beta might be okay. It would be decent, right? The special ammo on the Kaiser Mail Beta, I mean, that's only good for that's only good in a few situations with the bowguns, really. So, and I wouldn't build Kaiser Mail Beta for that. I'd build something else, honestly. A latent power on the helmet as well. It's just not that useful. But the Master's Touch armor set skill is extremely useful, so this actually still gets used. Next, we talk about the Kushala armor set, which you get from Kushala Daora, right? This also has a set bonus skill called Kushala Daora Flight. It'll negate all wind pressure, which means it works against Kushala Daora. Now, honestly, a lot of people, they're very annoyed with Kushala Daora because Kushala has the windshield, and I don't build this armor set to fight Kushala Daora. That's the truth. Like, even though it has nullify wind pressure, nullify all wind negation, it's a very specific armor set, and I feel like you're better off just bringing a pure damage build, which you won't get with the Kushala armor set. You won't get a pure damage build. Just build pure damage against Kushala Daora, bring the Rocksteady Mantle, keep him flashed. You only get 3 flashes when he's tempered, but use 2 of them. Keep him flashed, get him KO'd, and then use the Rocksteady Mantle to its best effect, and you're going to be okay. You don't need all wind pressure negated from the Kushala Daora set. However, if you are dying to build that, there's a few ways you can reach it. Like if you're building a ice elemental damage, the helmet Kushala Glare Beta is actually extremely efficient for building ice damage, right? Because you get the 3 small decoration slots and the 2 levels of ice attack. The Kushala Sista Beta is pretty good as well. Handicraft is a level 3 decoration slot, so you actually get 2 of those here and a level 2 decoration slot. That's very efficient, okay? So this is one of the best pieces of armor for building up handicraft. We've seen the Death Stench Heal, right? That's pretty good for feet. And then we have this piece for, it takes up your chest piece, but it gives you 2 levels of handicraft and a level 2 decoration slot. Very efficient, right? And then we have the Kushala Grip Beta. Evade window is okay, I guess. I don't really feel like you need it. But again, if you're really dying to build up that Nullify Wind Pressure set bonus skill, you might consider that. Kushala Cocoon also is okay. You can see it's not as good as the helmet, but it's not bad. And then finally, you have the legs. The legs are actually not that bad if you're using something like a heavy bowgun, because you get 2 levels of Evade Extender and the large decoration slot. So again, in terms of efficiency, that's pretty good. But the Evade Extender is a non-damaging skill, so you generally don't need it, and that's why I don't use the Kushala Cruise Beta very often, especially now that we have the Lunastra helmet, which gives you 2 levels of Evade Extender, a level 3 decoration slot, and a level 2 decoration slot, so it's actually not as efficient as the new Lunastra helmet. Moving right along, we have the Vaal Hazak Alpha and Beta sets, and I've never been really impressed with this armor set. However, it has one of the best armor set skills called Super Recovery. This is especially useful for players who die a lot. Basically, it just allows your health to come back over time, no matter what, right? Normally, you have a limit to how much you can recover. It's that red bar of damage you took, and it shows you recoverable damage. Well, this armor set, once you've recovered all of your red bar, it gets to keep recovering, right? So it's really an interesting set. And some people say you can try to get that armor set skill and pair it with like peak performance, which even now might be more viable with the new Vaal Hazak Gamma set, which we'll get to that in a minute. But let's go ahead and take a look at Alpha and Beta. So basically, you have Alpha and Beta. You can see with the Alpha, you can get 2 levels of Dragon Attack. Not really useful in my opinion, but it's more efficient than the Beta version, because the Beta version, you're going to get 1 level of peak performance and a small decoration slot, whereas with the Alpha set, you're going to get 1 level of peak performance and 2 levels of Dragon Attack. That's extremely niche, okay? So if you're like dying to build Vaal Hazak and you're going to be building a dragon damage weapon where you don't care about crit element because you're not going to be putting the Rath Soul helmet there, you see? So it's just too niche, honestly. I don't really like the helmet. Then you have the chest piece, Vaal Hazak Mail Alpha and Vaal Hazak Mail Beta. Again, I'm not really a big fan of this. You can get like 2 levels of recovery speed, 2 small decoration slots, or for the Alpha, you give up one of those decoration slots for Dragon Attack. It's not that useful. Now the Vaal Hazak Braces Beta is actually pretty decent. You get 1 level of peak performance, but you get 3 small decoration slots. That's usually a full skill right there. That's a maxed out skill for small decorations. But even if it's not, that can be like 3 levels of attack boost or 3 levels of crit eye. So that's pretty good. And then the alpha is not as good. Next, you can see the Vaal Hazak Coil Beta. Once again, you can get 1 level of peak performance and 2 small decoration slots. You can see how the braces are just immediately better than that. Also, I should mention this other thing about the braces. So if you're not trying to build dragon damage, the Vaal Hazak Braces Beta, if you're trying to build super recovery and you're not trying to build dragon damage, the Vaal Hazak Braces Beta are actually better than the new Gamma set. The Gamma set, the Gamma set Van Braces are extremely efficient for building dragon damage, but just dragon damage. So if you're not building dragon damage and you really want super recovery, Vaal Hazak Braces Beta, that's the armor set you'll want to build for that. The other piece of the armor set that's still good on the Alpha Beta set, well, in this case, the Beta, is the Vaal Greaves are still very useful. So you'll notice the Vaal Greaves gives you 2 levels of effluvia resistance, and they don't require a Vaal Hazak gem. So everyone should really be able to build this after fighting Vaal Hazak once or twice or maybe 3 times. Everyone should be able to build this and get 2 levels of effluvia resistance onto their setup, which is really important for fighting Vaal Hazak, especially if you're going to go onto a team and fight Arch-Tempered Vaal Hazak. He's really tough. Like speedrunners can get away with not wearing it because they're amazing, right? And they'll do so much damage and recover so much health they don't care about, and they'll juggle them. They don't care about effluvia resist, but for everyone else, you do need effluvia resist for fighting Arch-Tempered Vaal Hazak. And this piece of leggings is a very efficient way to do it if you're not able to build the Vaal Hazak Charm, which I'm pretty sure the Charm does require a Vaal Hazak gem. So there you go, build the leggings. Next, we have the Kirin armor set, the Alpha Beta, and now we have the new Gamma set. We'll take a look at the Gamma set in a second. The Capture Master, I've talked about it in the past. Basically, when you capture a monster, you get high chance of increased capture rewards. I think that means you're more likely to get a gem. I'm not 100% sure about that because I can't actually see what the programmers did for this skill. It's not very specific, right? It doesn't say that, but I think that's what it means. So if you're trying to farm for gems, you might consider doing that. However, my opinion over time has kind of changed about gem farming. Basically, what the most important thing is for gem farming is just having the strongest build-up possible, right? Whatever setup is most powerful, you kill the monster faster, and then you just move on to your next investigation, and that's a better way of increasing your rewards, basically, rather than just relying on this skill to maybe give you the rewards, right? So moving on from the set bonus skill, there's really just one piece, the Kirin Legs Beta, which gives you 2 levels of free element and 2 small decoration slots. This is pretty efficient, right? That's nice for leggings, by the way. There aren't a lot of great leggings in the game. You've got this one, and you've got the Death Stench Shield. They're both pretty good. They're kind of similar setup too, right? 2 large decoration slots, 2 small empty decoration slots, right? So if you're building free element, you can have 1 level of it somewhere else on the build and 2 levels of it right here on your legs. So you'll want to build those for sure. Next, we have a armor set that I'm very familiar with, the Xeno Jiiva armor set, which gives you one of the best bonus skills in the game for using a gun and even for using, some of the other weapons as well. It gives you the razor sharp / spare shot skill. And the way that works, it says it halves sharpness loss, that's for regular weapons, and then for bows and bow guns, shots have a chance not to expend coatings or ammo. So this is a really important armor set for just the spare shot, right? And a lot of bow guns will use this armor set to try and expend, let's say you have very few ammos in reserve for a certain type of ammo that you really want, you'll use this armor set to get free shots of that ammo type, which essentially it's like increasing your reserves. It's also pretty good for increasing your DPS because when you shoot a bullet and it doesn't fire, it's kind of like having an extra bullet in the chamber, and that means you reload fewer times in the fight, right? See where I'm going with this? That gives you a higher sustained DPS. So this is really popular for the bow guns. I think some of the bows even use it, right? They have the power shot skill. I don't know if it's optimal for bows, but I think some bow setups do use it. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm still learning some of the things about bows. It is optimal for a lot of bow guns though. So here we go. We have the Alpha helmet and the Beta helmet, right? Well, if you look, the Alpha helmet actually gives you special ammo boost, whereas the Beta gives you a rank 2 decoration slot. So it's a little different here. It really depends on what you want. If you're building for like a bow gun and you don't really care about your helmet slot, you might build the Xeno Jiiva Headgear Alpha just to get that special ammo boost, and you can finish that off with the Xeno Jiiva Spine Alpha. That gives you another level of special ammo boost, and that'll give you the 2 levels of special ammo boost, which might help you. It just depends on, well, it just depends, because a lot of the bowgun builds, you're actually going to want to keep your headpiece for a different piece of armor, something like the Dragonking Eyepatch, right? Something like that. So you don't usually give up your helmet slot when building for a bowgun, even when you're building the Xeno Jiiva Divinity set, but hey, maybe if you're like playing with no decorations, this would be a good time to do that. The other notable piece of armor in this setup is the Xeno Jiiva Claws Alpha, which gives you 1 level of critical boost. That's really nice. It's also more efficient than the beta version. So the beta version gives you flinch free and a level 3 decoration, right? And then the Alpha set gives you 1 crit boost and a small decoration slot. So a lot of the times you'll be taking Xeno Jiiva Claws Alpha. But let's say you've got an ammo type that doesn't actually care about affinity. That would be the explosive ammo types. In that case, you would actually still take the Xeno Jiiva Claws Beta, because the crit boost isn't going to affect those explosive ammos, right? So you really have to think about it and kind of know what you're doing here. Other than that, I want to say that the Xeno Jiiva Spine Beta and the Xeno Jiiva Spurs, those are usually pretty common for which pieces of armor you actually choose to wear for the Xeno Jiiva Divinity skill, right? The spare shot skill. That's because the headpiece and the chest piece, very often for bowguns, those are the pieces you reserve for other armor sets, right? So the Xeno Jiiva set is a set you're going to want to build, and you're going to want to pay special attention to the Alpha Helmet, the Alpha Vambraces, and the Alpha Coil. Alright, now we're done talking about the Xeno Jiiva set. We've come up on one of the best pieces of armor in the entire game. It's called the Dragonking Eyepatch. You know, it only has an alpha version. It has 2 levels of weakness exploit. That's one of the most valuable skills in the game. It affects, like, I want to say like 90% of weapons are affected by weakness exploit. It's not always the case, but majority of the time it is. And then it also comes with the level 3 decoration slot. So this makes it an extremely efficient piece of armor, and a lot of sets begin with throwing the Dragonking Eyepatch onto their helmet slot, right? So you're going to be using this piece of armor a lot. If you're new, you can just augment it right away because it's worth it. You're going to be using it all the time, I imagine. I mean, like I said, there are builds where you won't be using it, but many weapons are going to be using this. After that, I want to jump over to the Deviljho setup. So you'll notice the Vazelgeuse Helm Beta gives you 1 level of Part Breaker, a level 3 decoration slot, and a small decoration slot. So in terms of building Part Breaker, that's actually very similar to what we were seeing with the Uragaan set. You had the Uragaan Mail, or chest piece, that gave you 2 levels of Part Breaker and a small decoration slot. And then you had the Uragaan Coil, which gave you 1 Part Breaker, a level 2 decoration slot, and a level 1 decoration slot. So the Vazelgeuse Helm Beta is right on par with all of those, except it takes your helmet slot, which might not be something you want to do, and it's slightly better than the coil, the Uragaan Coil, because it gives you a level 3 decoration slot rather than a level 2 decoration slot. So I feel like this one gets overlooked a bit, but you know, Kulve Taroth is still a thing. You still need Part Breaker for her, and you might consider building the Deviljho helmet for it. And that's about it for the Deviljho armor set. Nothing else really stands out on the armor set. You can build it for cosplay, and that's about all I would worry about. The only thing that stands out is the helmet, which competes with the Uragaan set for efficiently building Part Breaker. After Deviljho, we move on to one of my favorite armor sets in the game, the Kulve Taroth armor set. It's a very confusing armor set to use because it tends to mix and match 2 skills, like Free Element and then Agitator on the helmet, right? So you have to have a build where you want to build Agitator and Free Element in order to have the most efficient use of this helmet, right? So it gets really confusing, and you can easily forget that it's capable of doing that, capable of being efficient that way. But yeah, it's a very good armor set that came out with Kulve Taroth, and it added like a new meta for the pieces, right? So let's say you only wanted Free Element. Well, Free Element is a level 3 decoration. The helmet gives you 1 level of it, and then it gives you a level 2 decoration slot, and then a small decoration slot. So it's actually a pretty efficient helmet, right? The Kulve Taroth Fury Beta. Similarly, if you're really dying to build Free Element and Agitator, you can take the Kulve Taroth Fury Alpha, and you won't have to have that extra Agitator decoration. Because I know it's a Rarity 7 decoration, so if you're having trouble building Agitator, this isn't a bad way to get it onto your setup. Then we have one of the best chest pieces to come out in the game. It's called Kulve Taroth's Ire, right? I take Kulve Taroth's Ire Beta because I like the way it looks, and because I have 3 crit boost decorations. And then you have Kulve Taroth's Ire Alpha, which I think most players will be building. This gives you 2 levels of the valuable crit boost skill. It's a Rarity 8 skill. So if you don't have that decoration, well, if you don't have 2 of those decorations, then you'll probably be building the Kulve Taroth Ire Alpha, right? And that's going to get you the 2 levels of critical boost that your build needs to get more damage, right? You also get 2 levels of stun resistance. That's one of my favorite defensive skills. I think it saved my life a number of times because I got out of the stun before the monster came and attacked me a second time or third time or whatever, right? So that's a pretty decent side skill, but the main course here is really critical boost. And so a lot of the times you're going to be giving up your chest slot just for this piece of armor, the Kulve Taroth Ire piece of armor. Then the rest of the Kulve Taroth armor set isn't bad either. You have, the Kulve Taroth Rage, that's the Vambrace, right? You've got free element ammo up, a large 3 decoration slot, and a small decoration slot. So right off the bat, if you're building free element, that's still pretty efficient for the Vambraces. All of the Vambraces we've seen so far, that's still pretty competitive. But also power prolonger. So if you have this rare case where you need free element and power prolonger, this is your guy, right? This is your best piece of armor. Similarly, you run into the same situation with Kulve Taroth Malice Beta. It comes with an even more common skill, Handicraft, right? Handicraft is a level 3 decoration, free element is a level 3 decoration, and it comes with an empty level 3 decoration and a small decoration slot. This is one of the most efficient pieces of armor in the game for building both free element and Handicraft. Finally, we have the Kulve Taroth Wrath Beta. So this actually pairs really well with the new armor set we got, the Lunastra armor set. The Lunastra armor set came with a chest piece that was extremely efficient, and it gave us 2 levels of peak performance. Well, Kulve Taroth Wrath Beta gives us 1 level of peak performance, a level 2 decoration slot, and a level 1 decoration slot. That's really efficient, and it finishes off peak performance for you. You also get 2 levels of wide range. This is one of the best skills to take into multiplayer, so there's never a bad reason to have wide range. So yeah, the whole Kulve Taroth armor set was a terrific addition to the game, and really it kind of set a new standard for armor sets because it comes with so much, really. I mean, I think they were really just trying to get free element into the game more, right, to help people unlock elemental skills and compete with elementalists. I think that was their goal, and I really think it did help. Alright, now we have the Vaal Hazak Gamma Set. The Vaal Hazak Gamma Set really has 2 pieces of armor that stand out. The Vaal Hazak Braces Gamma. This gives you 3 levels of dragon attack, a level 3 decoration slot, and a level 2 decoration slot. That's extremely good for building, if you have like a dragon attack setup, which, by the way, when Deviljho came out with a ton of dragon element weapons, many of them kind of setting the meta for their weapon class. So this pairs incredibly well with Deviljho weapons. It also pairs with Nergigante weapons, okay? So this overall is a really strong piece of armor, the Vaal Hazak Braces Gamma. Then you have the Vaal Hazak Coil Gamma as well. So the Vaal Hazak Gamma Coil is interesting. You get 2 levels of recovery speed, 1 level of dragon attack, and then you get a level 2 decoration slot and 2 level 1 decoration slots. So what we've seen, some of the best coils was the Odogaron Coil, which gives us an empty level 2 decoration slot and 2 levels of crit eye. Then the Nergigante Coil, which gives us 1 level 2 decoration slot, 2 levels of attack boost. Well, if you look, Vaal Hazak Coil Gamma is capable of mimicking both of those coils as long as you have the decorations. So if you have 2 attack boost decorations or you have 2 crit eye decorations. One of the things it can't do is it can't give you another piece of the Nergigante armor set, right? So that means you can't build hasten recovery. But if you're not worried about that and you have the decorations, this is the best coil because you have 2 levels of recovery speed as well. Now, Vaal Hazak Coil Gamma can't compete with the Vaal Hazak Coil, but let's say you're not actually trying to build free element and you're not necessarily trying to build handicraft, then this would become the best coil in the game, as long as, once again, you're not trying to build Nergigante's armor set bonus, okay? So the Vaal Hazak Coil and the Vaal Hazak Braces Gamma, these 2 pieces of armor became really important. Then you have the Vaal Hazak Greaves Gamma. It gives you 1 level of peak performance. It gives you a large decoration slot, a small decoration slot, and recovery speed. Unfortunately, I would rather just build the Kulve Taroth Wrath Beta and have 2 levels of wide range. However, if you're really going for that super recovery skill, this is certainly a decent piece of armor to consider for that. And then the other thing you might put here is the Vaal Hazak Greaves Beta, which, if you recall, that has 2 levels of effluvia resistance and then 2 small decoration slots. And so really what you can do is you can use you can mix and match the Vaal Hazak pieces of armor in order to get the the set bonus skill. And you can use that to go fight Vaal Hazak. He's got the DOT that eats at your health. Well, if you're wearing his set bonus skill armor set, you're able to heal that up a bit. It does help. It counteracts that. Oops, I almost forgot to talk about the Kirin Gamma set. Let's go ahead and do that now, starting with the Kirin Gamma helmet. So this is called Kirin Horn, and it comes with 1 level of Blight Resistance, that's a level 2 skill, 3 levels of Thunder Attack, that's level 1, 3 level 1 skills, and 1 empty level 2 decoration slot. So if you were including Blight Resistance, this would be a pretty efficient helmet. However, Blight Resistance really isn't that good of a skill, unfortunately. So what you're really looking at is just the level 2 decoration slot and the 3 levels of Thunder Attack. And the problem here is it's kind of easy to get 3 levels of Thunder Attack onto a build, so you probably wouldn't want to give up your helmet slot just for Kirin Horn Gamma. Remember, there's all these good helmets that you can put there, including the Kulve Taroth helmet, the Dragonking Eyepatch, the Nergigante helmet, and the Rath Soul Beta. Yeah, I think I said that right. Rath Soul Beta. All these great helmets go in that slot, so you wouldn't really want to give it up for the Kirin Horn Gamma. Alright, so let's move on to the chest piece. Kirin Jacket Gamma, that's the chest piece, right? And what we have here is 2 levels of free element / ammo up and 2 small decoration slots. So right away you can tell that this isn't as efficient as like the Lunastra chest piece, where you get 2 levels of peak performance and 3 small decoration slots. In fact, this is the same as the Kirin Beta leggings. So it's kind of like, why would I give up my chest piece slot when I could have something like the Kulve Taroth Ire, or I could have something like the Rath Mail for building the crit element, right? Something like that. You wouldn't want to give up this slot either. Then we have one of the best pieces of armor in the game, the Kirin Longarms. This is the Kirin Vambrace armor piece, right? And it's going to come with 1 level of Blight Resistance, 1 level of free element / ammo up, and 2 empty decoration slots. So altogether, if you discount the Blight Resistance, it's nice, but you don't need it, once again. It's really a 3 large decoration slot piece of armor. We always keep our eyes out for that, right? Like if you look at the Dragonking Eyepatch, that's really what it is. It has 2 levels of weakness exploit, and it has 1 level 3 decoration slot. Well, free element / ammo up is a level 3 decoration slot, and then you get 2 level 2 decoration slots. So this is a highly efficient piece of armor, one of the most efficient pieces of armor in the game, and when you can put it onto your build, you really should. After that, for the waist, the coil, we get the Kirin Hoop Gamma. Gives you 2 levels of Marathon Runner, and then 2 small decoration slots. That's not very good. And then when you look at the leggings, you get 2 levels of Thunder Attack, 1 level of Blight Resistance, and an empty decoration level 3. Once again, like the waist, that's not very good. So really from the Kirin Gamma set, what we really got were the long arms, that was the Vambraces. The Vambraces are very similar to the Dragonking Eyepatch in terms of efficiency. It's really good. Next, I do want to mention, I've mostly been ignoring special armor sets like event armor sets. However, this one's too good to ignore. The Dante Leather Boots Alpha is another way you can get weakness exploit onto your build. It'll give you 2 levels of weakness exploit, that's 2 level 2 decorations, and then it'll give you 2 small decorations. You'll notice it kind of mimics Death Stench Heal, right, in terms of efficiency, and it mimics, what was the other one? It was Death Stench Heal, and right, it was the Kirin Legs, which gave you 2 levels of free element and 2 small decoration slots. You'll also notice is more efficient than the Teostra Vambraces, the ones that gave you 2 levels of weakness exploit and 1 small decoration slot, as well as the Rath Mail. The Rath Mail gave you 2 levels of weakness exploit and 1 small decoration slot. So Dante's Leather Boots Alpha competes to be one of the most efficient leggings, as well as more efficient than other armor pieces that give you weakness exploit. However, a lot of the times I still just take the Dragonking Eyepatch, so I don't usually need these leggings, but they are very efficient, so I do recommend building them. I'm pretty sure that event's going to be available again at the Summer Festival. If it's not, you just have to pay attention. Capcom rotates the events. The Summer Festival will come and go, and this video will stay up on YouTube too. So one day it might be the Fall Festival, it might be the Winter Festival. Just keep your eyes open, because I would at least build this. Finally, we have the Lunastra set, which came out with Lunastra. So you can tell the age of this video because we don't have the Behemoth set to talk about. And when the Behemoth set comes out, I certainly will put out a video analyzing that armor set. But for now, we're going to have to stop at the Lunastra armor set. And I've kind of already taken a look at this, but why don't we go ahead and talk about it? So the first thing is the Empress Crown Beta is extremely useful for getting Evade Extender under your build, and that's useful for at least it's useful for the heavy bowguns I know. You get 2 levels of Evade Extender, a level 3 decoration slot, and a level 2 decoration slot. That's extremely efficient for building Evade Extender, right? Also, the Empress Crown Alpha isn't bad if you're really dying to have both Evade Extender and Tool Specialist. Okay, so if you want both of those things, this is also extremely efficient. But I don't really like Tool Specialist, so I rarely build that. Oh, before we get too far, look at the set bonus skill. You're going to get Stamina Cap Up. Stamina Cap Up is relevant to bow users who rely on stamina to deal their damage. However, one of the problems I run into is you have to like eat rations as soon as you land in order to finish filling out your stamina bar with that skill. But yes, it's still a useful skill. So keep your eyes on that. Mind's Eye Ballistic for wearing 4 pieces of the Lunastra set. You're rarely going to be wearing 4 pieces of the Lunastra armor set, similar to the Rath Soul armor set, which is why we didn't talk about it then. But if you have the decoration, you can pop the decoration probably into the armor set, right? So that's the armor set. Let's move on to talking about Empress Mail. So Empress Mail Beta is one of the most efficient chest pieces in the game. It gives you 2 levels of peak performance and 3 small decoration slots. And you'll see a lot of speedrunners using this. The only problem with peak performance, though, is you run into DOT monsters like Lunastra and you run into like Vaal Hazak. It's very hard to use peak performance around them. So generally you would swap over at that point to either the Kushala chest piece or the Kulve Taroth chest piece, which are more efficient than this one in those cases, right? But if you're fighting a monster that doesn't have DOT, peak performance is terrific. After that, we have the Empress Fan Braces Beta. Now, at first, this looks extremely efficient, right? You get 2 levels of wide range, a level 3 decoration slot, and a level 2 decoration slot. However, consider with the Teostra Fan Braces, if you're trying to use that armor slot to build like Weakness Exploit, the Teostra Van Braces are actually more efficient because although you're not going to get 2 levels of wide range, you're going to get 1 empty decoration slot, which you can give over to something like Critical Eye or Attack Boost. That's not true for Lunastra. So especially if you're playing solo, that's really relevant. If you're playing on a team, you might as well take wide range. It's not that big of a deal, but it might be that big of a deal if you're trying to work toward your 4th Attack Boost decoration, right? Because in that case, you would also get the 5% Affinity Boost. So it is important to notice that little discrepancy. Then we have the Empress Coil Beta. Once again, it's not the most efficient armor piece in the world. You get 2 levels of Tool Specialist, which I'm not a big fan of, and then you get 2 level 2 decoration slots, which is just okay, right? I feel like if you desperately need a level 2 decoration slot on your build, you can swap out to Empress Coil from you can get rid of the Nergigante Coil or the Vaal Hazak Gamma Coil, right? So that would be the only case that you would do that because man, I don't know. It just depends on what you need on your build. Sometimes builds are in need of more level 2 decoration slots. Then you have the Empress Greaves Beta. Similar situation to the coil here. So you get 2 levels of health boost. So what? I think new players need health boost. I think a lot of experienced players don't really need health boost. It's really all about those 2 empty decoration slots, right? The level 2 decoration slots. And what are you competing with here? You're competing mostly with leggings that have 2 high rank decorations and then 2 empty level 1 decoration slots. So there are some cases where you need another level 2 decoration slot so badly that you'll swap over to the Empress Greaves for that extra level 2 decoration slot. But it's not necessarily like leaving a huge impact on your build. It's just something you have to watch out for when a situation arises. It might be a case where it's like you don't want 2 more level 1 decoration slots. You'd rather have 1 level 2 decoration slots, which I would call that pretty much a fair trade. Alright, well that's everything I have to say about the armor sets. I'm missing one, the Star-Lord. I think it's called like the Star-Lord something. I don't have that, I'm on Xbox. You also notice I didn't really talk about special armor sets because I don't really feel like they're relevant to combat. Mostly I'm examining the combat armor sets. Maybe at some point I'll go back and give them their own videos. This video is stretching way longer than I thought it was going to. It's going to be a huge video. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. In the future, I'm going to be doing individual reviews of oncoming armor sets. So you're welcome to keep an eye on my channel for that. And I hope you found this information useful. I guess I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Really? Oh my gosh, you guys! I just want to thank y'all so much!